Today's podcast is brought to you by T-Mobile. Join the thousands tweeting and posting their appreciation for our military and veterans by using hashtag #HatsOffForHeroes. When you share your photo or video, T-Mobile will donate $1 to support vets with Team Rubicon.
This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A.
Friday the 13th, it is the Stephen A. Smith Show. Dave Rothenberg and Ryan Hollins coming your way. Ryan, good morning, good afternoon, wherever anybody may be in the listening region. Let me ask you, Friday the 13th, does it make you nervous or you're fine with it?
It doesn't make me nervous at all, but I want to apologize, man. I felt like we got off air yesterday screaming at each other. We're so much better than that, man. You're like my best friend in the whole wide world, man.
No, and I feel very
Dave.
much the same. Listen, you don't have to apologize. Part of sports talk radio is the
do.
disagreement. Big part of
You're
sports
my
talk radio is the
favorite
disagreement.
guy that I really don't like for the next 2 hours.
Take that as a tremendous compliment.
You're my favorite unlikable.
All right, I'll take it. Be sure you're getting the highest quality supplements and the best prices with GNC's price match guarantee. Or try something new if it's not right for you. Return for a full refund this summer. Live well with GNC. Exclusions apply. See an associate or GNC.com for details. How many Twitter followers did you lose yesterday with the big purge?
I don't think I lost any, but I don't really check my Twitter followers the way I check my Instagram followers. And you know what? I've been announcing my name. Hey, Ryan Hollins has announced his name, so my followers have increased, and somebody didn't know who you were yesterday.
That's okay. I'm Dave Rothenberg. He's Ryan Hollins.
You were known as Ryan Hollins Cole.
888-ESPN, 888-729-3776. Time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks. Absolutely no contracts. All right, let's get to it. Isaiah Thomas was on the verge of signing a monster deal a couple of years ago. Just signed a 1-year, $2 million deal. How things change, huh?
Listen, man. Listen. As a former player, this aggravates me to no end because you always look at the player. Oh, he's not loyal. He's sitting out. Kawhi Leonard, he's sitting out. He doesn't want to play basketball. He's not doing what's right for the team. And then you got guys like Manu and Tony. Oh, I've been injured like that before. Well, guess what? If you get injured, you can't play. You're stepping into the front office. Say the same for Isaiah Thomas. What did the Boston Celtics do for Isaiah Thomas? What did the Cleveland Cavaliers and Los Angeles Lakers do for Isaiah Thomas after he risked his not just physical, his mental? He was coping with the loss of a loved one. He was injured with his hip, and for a basketball player who's all of 5'9" on a good day with a bad hip, which takes away mobility, the kid couldn't play basketball at the same level. And now he has the best deal on the table, Dave. The best deal is $2 million. And I get it. Me and you wouldn't complain for $2 million. But he was poised to make, as a fellow overachiever, he was poised to make, how much? 150?
Yeah,
a max deal?
A lot of money.
At least at a minimum, we say 15 to 20 a year, right? Minimum.
Oh, yeah. I would say at a minimum $80 to $100 million. And that's probably an underestimate of what he realistically could have gotten.
Dave, is it fair of me, and I want you to ask, is it fair of me, or what can I do as a former player to drive this home? Because I feel like as players, we are always the bad guys for sitting out, for not playing. We're soft. We're not made, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, help me, help the fans, because we are people too. We're people too as players.
Yeah, but nobody has sympathy for the players, Ryan. No one's going to ever have sympathy for the, you know why? Because the owners are nameless, behind the desk, people that nobody really knows much about. They put this product on the field or on the court or on the ice, but nobody feels this connection to the owners. People feel connections to the players. So if a player doesn't play in a big moment, I mean, you say, and you're right, the guy, risked his mental stability and health and all that to come back when his sister passed away. It also is one of the great stories that we've seen in sports in the last God knows how long, that his sister passes away and he comes back and he plays and he puts on that kind of a performance. So nobody thinks about the ownership of the Celtics or the Lakers or the Rams or the Dodgers or the Giants or the Jets. You think about the player and the performance on the field. That's always first and foremost.
But how do we change the narrative? Because right now, Kawhi Leonard, in a similar situation, players follow what players do. So a guy like Kawhi Leonard had the team down. Oh, Kawhi, you can play. Well, guess what? They told Isaiah the same thing. And guess what? Isaiah had to prolong his surgery and try to rehab it. Somebody probably told Isaiah, hey, you can rehab this. You might be okay. And now he's in a situation where he's not okay. So as a player, why does Kawhi get the same? He gets the heat for actually doing the smart thing. I mean, Dave, if you were Kawhi Leonard, would you not do the same?
It depends. I mean, if he's legitimately hurt, then yes. But I think that's the big question, don't you? That a lot of people, including maybe some of his teammates and former teammates, question how legitimately injured, in fact, he was.
Can you do that? Can you do that? I understand the old school mentality. I understand the Larry Bird out in the driveway, paving his mother's driveway. Just do what you're supposed to do. Shut up and play. And I'm sure there are a lot of guys that we would literally never know about. Everybody has that uncle or the guy at the park day that that was like, man, he was a bad man back in high school and college, and he tore his knee up doing this or something. That was the mentality in the past. And now Isaiah Thomas takes that same mentality and loses out and misses out. And the NBA is not better for it because Isaiah Thomas, might we remember, this was a guy who led the Celtics to the number 1 seed in the East. Granted, they lost to LeBron because of his injury, and all that we can say is we don't know.
They didn't lose to LeBron because of the injury, though. They lost to LeBron because LeBron is better.
Fair, but nonetheless, there's a fighting chance. There's a different game if he's not injured, okay? And likely he should sit out. And now the guy he's old news. He's not even going to start for the Nuggets. They got Jamal Murray. He's not even going to start.
But was he ever – now listen, you're going to say he was at that point. Did you ever think that Isaiah Thomas was going to be a 10-year superstar in this league, or did you think to yourself, he's bottled it all up and it's all oozing out brilliantly now, but he may not be a star player in 3 or 5 or 7 years? There were teams that thought that this was lightning in a bottle.
I didn't think there was any looking back. And you got to understand one thing about IT is that he's a guy since playing in the Pac-10. That's how far we date back at Washington. Nobody believed in him. And for him to go as the 60th pick in the draft, I watched this kid mature. He's always had a chip on his shoulders. He's always loved and cherished the fact, I like to say, a fellow overachiever, because Ryan Hollins wasn't supposed to play 10 years in the NBA if you listen to what people say. And he made the most of it. So he's always just believed, and finally he gets his big break. And then it's a bad break. It's a horrible – he ends up worse off after – than you would have thought, right? So he plays for the Celtics, goes off, and then he ends up worse after that situation, after he has his best year than he was before. Talk about life.
But isn't that the perils of sports? Like, there's some guys that they have the opportunity and they hit it out of the park, and there's other guys that it doesn't play out for them. I mean, that's sports, that's life in general, isn't it? Where, you know what, for every person that steps into a huge deal or a huge contract or a huge whatever, there's people that it falls apart for.
Dave, I understand if this is war, and I get it. Die a hero, do what you can, go be the martyr. But right now, he martyred himself, Dave. How is this okay? I can't think, my brother. Imagine, I'm trying to imagine if someone told you, Dave, if you do the radio show today, there's a chance you could ruin your vocal cords forever, and you could sound you could sound horrible. I don't know. Like this, do you take that risk? No, not a chance. You stay home. Hey, I need throat surgery. I'm going to fix my throat because my money is to talk on the radio or television or whatever. Dave, I mean, what do you, Dave? Dave, it's a no-brainer. You sit out, right? Doctor tells you that you sit out. You're not doing the show.
Doctor tells me if I go on the radio and speak that I'm probably going to wind up ruining my voice forever. Yeah, of course I'd sit out.
Not even a question. And if it's the Super Bowl, you sit out the Super Bowl. I'm not ruining him. And Isaiah Thomas is the guy, right?
See, but I don't know that that's true. Doctor says, you know what, you call the Super Bowl and there's a chance that your voice is irreparably damaged, but you call the Super Bowl, I don't know what you do.
Dave, I'm pretty sure you sit out.
You know what, you say that.
There's no way around it. There's no way around it.
So
Dave.
You're blaming the guy for fighting through injury and emotional distress? I mean, that's what we want our athletes to do. And our athletes are put on a pedestal. They're put on a very high level. And I think everyone in Boston...
I don't blame... No. Help me here. I don't blame Isaiah Thomas. I blame the Celtics. I blame the organization.
For what? For allowing him to play?
For treating the players like trash. I know in his heart of hearts, he stepped up and played because he felt like the Celtics would take care of him. And you know what Danny Ainge did? He traded him the first thing smoking.
Was it a bad trade? He got Kyrie Irving in return. Was it a bad trade?
No, but there's no loyalty. So why, as a player, should we have any loyalty to an organization? Why should KD be loyal to Oklahoma City? Okay, why should LeBron James have been loyal to the Cavaliers and he came back and showed it? But why can't a player make a certain move? Why can't a player make move without
if he would have sat out, if Isaiah Thomas would have said, you know what, my hip is too bad, I'm physically fatigued, I can't play, the doctors tell me not to, do you think that Celtics fans would have read him the riot act? They would have understood that the guy is not physically well and couldn't play. If when his sister died, if he stayed in Seattle and didn't come back to play in those games, no one would have judged him for doing the bad thing. You look at him as a folk hero and an icon because he did, but nobody would have come down on him if he didn't decide to come back and play.
Dave, my good man, my best man at my second wedding, if I ever have one, ask San Antonio fans, ask San Antonio players how Kawhi Leonard was treated. Ask them, how was Kawhi Leonard treated for sitting out for something knowing he wasn't quite sure of his body and his knees and how he felt going into a contract year. Dave, please ask San Antonio ask Kawhi how Kawhi was treated. Ask Kawhi how Kawhi was treated, Dave.
I don't think it's the same. I don't think Isaiah Thomas and Kawhi Leonard are it's not the same situation.
Whoa, how not?
How not? The guy's sister died and he decided he wanted to come back and play. Kawhi Leonard has been cleared by team doctors. They've told him he's okay to play.
So don't you think that Celtic doctors cleared Isaiah Thomas? He got on the floor. You can't get on the floor without your team doctors okaying you. And the team doctors for the Celtics okayed him, much like San Antonio's. And guess what, Dave? They're team doctors. As a former player, if you ever go see a team psychiatrist, don't say nothing. Why? Because they're the team psychiatrist.
Look,
they're going to tell everything.
I think we all understand. I think we all understand that the player is under the spotlight. And whether you like it or not, no one is concerned about the Buss family with the Lakers or Dan Gilbert with the Cavs. We're concerned about, and I think probably rightfully so, the players. So if the player can play or can't play, he's the one that's going to get the adulation and all the praise heaped on him, or just the opposite. He's the one that's going to be run through the mud if he's not able to play, i.e. Kawhi Leonard. Nobody cares about the ownership of these teams.
It's not hypocritical? It's
Maybe.
not wrong?
Maybe.
I mean, there's a – so listen, I'm going to ask you. I don't know why you take you shoot so much. I want to say – there's a lot of smart fans out there that know basketball, know games. There's a lot of professionals, okay, that understand this. So I don't know how you just tell me that all fans aren't educated to this. I don't think it's explained well enough to them, Dave. And I feel like if fans knew or were knowledgeable enough, most of them, they're all smart people. Fans are not idiots, Dave, and they would understand it. They're just misguided. But I'm asking you for a solution. I know what the problem is.
I don't think there is. Listen, for every Isaiah Thomas who's making $2 million a year, you got Joakim Noah who's involved in an $18 million a year who the Knicks kick off the team. I mean, I'm sorry, Ryan. Fans are not going to feel badly for these athletes. They're just not. They make a fortune of money.
How do you bring the Knicks into this? How do you
pick up any team? Go to any team. Guys are getting paid a ton of money. A ton of money. And for every Isaiah Thomas who you look at, you say, boy, that sucks. That's really unfortunate for him. There's probably 30 guys you go, wait a minute. This guy's making $7 million, $9 million, $12 million a year?
If the player makes millions, right? Let me ask you something. If a player makes millions, $10 million, $5 million, $150 million, right? Million. Let's do some math, Dave. How much do the owners make? How much do the organization
10 times,
make?
20 times?
I'm asking you. 10,
a ton of money.
Times, right? So why are we looking at the wrong person? I know you keep answering it, but I'm just saying.
What are you looking to do?
Why are we looking at the wrong people?
So what are you looking to do? Punish owners here?
Yeah.
How?
Well, I don't want to say punish. I don't want to punish anybody. I'm a good guy. I have a great heart, okay? I don't want to punish anybody. I just want things to be fair. And when an organization treats a player wrong, when they do a player wrong, I want to know why the heat is so hard on the player. How do you not see this for what it is?
Because
when
the
a guy is traded,
what you don't
when a guy is
understand,
waived,
Ryan, is the player is in the spotlight. Do you even know who owns the Celtics? Nobody knows. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about the ownership of these teams. As long as they try to put a good product on the field, that's what people are interested in. The focal point is on the players, good or bad, right? LeBron James scores 55 and 15 and 11. Nobody's saying, boy, that Dan Gilbert, what a great team. No, LeBron gets all the accolades and all the blame. So when you're a player, you assume that risk. It's all good and it's all bad and it's all surrounding you.
I think you're disrespecting fans everywhere right now.
How?
Because if they really knew what was actually going on, they would understand. Because guess what? The majority of us are players. And when I say the majority of us are players, I don't say that we've actually made it to the NBA or to the NFL, but we are amongst the working class. You can relate to having a boss. It's a rare percentage of us.
Come on, nobody looks at professional athletes and says that's among the working class. No, come on.
Hear me. Rothenberg, hear me.
Go.
We are employed by an employer. And much like that, an employer, we don't have a choice about where we move and where we do. If they hire and fire or trade and move us, this is the everyday working class person. So as players, we are a lot closer to the average person or fan than the actual owner is.
What do you think the average NBA salary is? What do you think the average NBA salary is right now?
That's not my point. That's not my point.
But don't compare the athlete to the normal working class guy who's making $17 an hour picking up trash on the corner. It's not fair.
We're a worker like you. That's not my point. We're a worker like you, and much like the guy in the corner, we got a boss who can treat us poorly, who can fire us, who have families at home, okay, and then get let go or get signed or get traded or move.
Can't fire you. Guaranteed contracts in the NBA. Can't fire you.
Well, Isaiah Thomas got fired. He got traded.
And he just got hired for $2 million a year. You know what I just looked it up. You know what the average NBA salary is? And this is back in 2016.
What is it?
$6.2 million.
$5 million?
$6.2 million.
Well, guess what? We got a rich and poor. You got people making $150 million, and you got people making $20 million, but the majority of guys are making a lower. There's just a rich and a poor. But Dave, so you're just gonna gloss over the fact that you got a boss standing over your head, and let's say sometimes you have a good boss. Me and you, we have good bosses. They're letting me work with my best friend today. We have good bosses. I got to work with you all week long. ESPN, I love my bosses and my opportunities. But some people have bad bosses, okay? Mean bosses, guys that trade you, guys that scrutinize you. There's somebody right now who's going through some mess at work.
It's a business.
And
some
it's
guys
wrong.
Get dealt.
So why are you looking at
that's part of what you sign up for.
So the majority of us, you're saying that the majority of people can't relate to players, and I'm not talking money, I'm talking situational.
Yes, I think almost everyone that's listening ridiculous. Right now has understanding of what it's like to be a professional athlete. Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Well, everybody has a boss. Do the majority of us, are we bosses or do we work for somebody? Majority of us work for somebody,
of people work for others, yes.
Okay,
but it's different,
majority.
But how do you compare? How do you compare the guy making $11 at McDonald's who has a boss, and if he shows up 3 minutes late, he gets fired, to a guy that's averaging $6 million in a guaranteed contract for 3 or 4 or 5 years? I don't understand the comparison.
I'm not talking money. Clearly, I'm not an idiot, Dave. I'm not talking money. I'm talking situational. So I'm saying situationally, we have all been done wrong at our jobs. If you work long enough, you're going to get a stinky boss. If you're not your own boss, you're going to get a stinky boss in which you don't like and is going to treat you very poorly, or possibly a bad coworker. We've all been that. NBA players just do it on another scale, okay? So when you get fired, the everyday guy gets fired, the boss sucks. So why when an NBA guy gets fired, the boss doesn't suck? I don't get that. I don't get that, because you can relate to us a lot quicker than you can to the owner.
Yes, I will agree with you that I can relate to the NBA player more than I can to the NBA owner. I'm not an owner. I don't understand what it's like to be the boss and to tell people you can do this or you can't do this, or trade people like they're chess pieces. But to say that I can understand what life is like as a guy making that kind of money, having that kind of a lifestyle, I can't, Ryan. And again, for
have
every
have you ever had a bad boss?
Of course, everyone has.
Have you ever had a poor work situation?
I think everybody has.
Have you ever been done wrong at your job?
I think
Have you
everybody
ever given it your all? Have you ever stepped into a job, given it everything you had, your sweat, blood, your tears on the line, committed yourself to a company, only to be let go or only to be done very, very poorly?
I think everybody has.
We're
but
in
you know what?
Situations right now.
For me,
and that's Isaiah Thomas.
Disagree.
All I'm saying, bro.
It's a far cry for a lot of people out there and the situations they have to what Isaiah Thomas is having to deal with. Yes. Does it suck? Absolutely. Is it unfortunate that instead of making $80 million or $100 million, the guys had to settle for a 1-year deal at $2 million? 100%.
Why you keep bringing money into this? Stop bringing money into this,
money
Dave.
is a factor.
Stop bringing money into this. No, it's not.
So eliminate the idea of how much money is involved in this guy being mistreated. I can't do it.
Yeah. Yes, because you're not looking at the owner's money. Why you keep saying players' money? Say the owner's money.
Owners make a fortune of money.
Part of the problem.
Fortunes of money.
You're a company. Hey, you're a company man. You're a company man. You probably throw Ryan Hollins under the bus, Dave, and then be my best man afterwards.
Straight Talk Wireless, that was it. Nationwide coverage, America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. Listen, all I'm saying is these are the owners of the teams. They have advantages that the players don't have, the same way that my boss has advantages that the people that work at the company don't have.
Are you the snitch in office? Are you the Tony Parker? You the Manu Ginobili? Is that who you are? I think he should play. I'm injured. I've been that injured before, too. Get on the floor, Kawhi. Is that you, Rothenberg? Oh,
no.
My God.
You can check things all the time, like your email, your social media. But Discover asks, what about checking something as important as your credit score? It's very important, Ryan. Well, Discover makes it quick and easy with their credit scorecard, which is free for everyone. Even if you're not a customer, see your FICO credit score and other important credit information. And once you know your score, you should check to see if your current credit card is the best fit for you. Learn more at discover.com/credit scorecard. Limitations apply. There's a player out there who wishes that he was treated like they treat them in the NBA. We'll discuss it next. 888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776. Rothenberg and Hollins in for Stephen A., ESPN Radio.
Hi, I'm Bryce Harper. Join me and the thousands tweeting and posting their appreciation for our military and veterans by using T-Mobile's #HatsOffForHeroes. When you share your photo or video with #HatsOffForHeroes, T-Mobile will donate $1 to support vets with Team Rubicon. So America, keep posting with #HatsOffForHeroes and T-Mobile will keep giving.
Major League Baseball trademarks used with permission. Official licensee of Major League Baseball Players Association.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
It is the Stephen A. Smith Show. Dave Rothenberg, Ryan Hollins with you. ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance, Ryan, with insurance for cars, homes, boats, motorcycles, RVs, and commercial vehicles at 1-800-PROGRESSIVE and Progressive.com. I know you're not a tennis guy, and that's fine. Do you have any idea what's happening at Wimbledon in the first semifinal of the day? I'm serious. Do you have any idea?
I love tennis. I just don't know if I can watch it. I love tennis, though. It's one of the funnest sports. Maybe I should blame my friend's stepdad for he stopped taking us to the park.
But you love athletic competition, right?
Competing on a pro circuit.
You love athletic competition,
I love
correct?
Tennis. I love tennis. Yes.
So let me just set the stage for you. Kevin Anderson.
Set the stage, brother.
John Isner. Semifinal. Winner goes to Sunday's Wimbledon final. Do you know how long they've been out on the court right now for? Take a guess. What would you say is a very long time?
3.5 hours.
5.5 hours. They're in the fifth set, and it's 14-13 on serve. Isner is up. Just as a guy that's just an athlete, you must. I mean, you have to love this, right?
Help me here. I love it. Give me a basketball comparison.
Oh, God.
Who are these two playing one-on-one?
Why does everything have to go back to basketball with you?
Yeah.
These are I mean, this is good.
Because
this
I'm a
like
basketball apologist. I'm a basketball apologist.
No, I'm not doing it. I'm not playing your game, and I'm going to break it down for basketball. This is a huge match. 2 top 10 players. Winner goes to the Wimbledon finals on Sunday. Let's get to some of the calls. 888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776. Talking a lot of Isaiah Thomas. Let's bring in Mike. Mike, you're on ESPN Radio. What's up, pal?
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
I want to talk about Isaiah Thomas and the Kawhi Leonard deal. So
go ahead, have at it, Mike.
With that, it's like you mentioned, how could you compare a worker that's making $11 an hour to an NBA player that's making $6 million, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So if you put it in perspective, think about you as the customer at one of your favorite restaurants, and it became your favorite restaurant because you liked the way one of the waiters or waitresses served, right? So that would be the fan. You would be the fan of Kawhi Leonard in this sense. So how you relate that is the restaurant owner fires this waiter or waitress, and now you don't appreciate the service so much, in a sense. So when it comes down to it, like, you're mad, I want to say, at the organization, in a sense, right?
I gotta be. I am not following this at all.
No. So you don't. So what I'm saying is, like, okay, you're blaming the players.
Why don't you appreciate the worker? Why don't you appreciate the worker?
I don't understand the analogy. I'm not understand. I can't follow what's being said. That's what I'm saying.
So
he's saying you can't appreciate the worker.
I appreciate the worker, but I think my point is, I think a lot of people out there, a lot of common folk out there, don't have tremendous, empathy or sympathy
for the
professional athlete.
You would blame the restaurant for firing. You would blame the organization for firing your favorite worker because now your meal isn't served as good.
There we go.
So why can't you have the same decency?
No, I wouldn't. Why would I blame the restaurant?
Well, think about it. Why?
Because they fire a guy who did a good job.
But who is fired?
Or not treating this person so they want to leave then.
Isaiah Thomas wasn't fired?
In so many words, he was traded, he was moved on, his salary was cut.
But so what?
Year,
I mean, but that's life.
He wasn't renewed.
You don't think there's people in everyday life, and thanks to the call, Mike, that have to take less money to do more work?
It's not about that. It's that you relate to that worker even more. And I don't know why, to NBA standards, after we spelled it out, after Mike gave you a great analogy,
might have been the worst analogy in the history in the history. You know what? When the Greeks thought up the word analogy, what Mike just did was not in their idea thought. I mean, that might have been the worst. And he seemed like a wonderful guy, and I'd love to go to my favorite restaurant with him and have the waitstaff wait on us. But that analogy was, I mean, my God. The professors at MIT couldn't figure out what that analogy was doing. It was all over the place.
I understood it. I appreciate their waiters.
God bless you.
I appreciate the servers.
Scott in L.A. Scott, you're on ESPN Radio, my man.
Hey, good morning to both, and thank you for allowing me on. I'm tremendously frustrated with Ryan for the last couple of days, especially on today's topic. You continue to condone petty and diva-esque patterns of behavior with high-profile NBA stars, Kyrie Irving, Kawhi Leonard, Kevin Durant, LeBron James. They're complete divas, and all you do is sit there and make excuses for them that condones their poor behavior. And it's tremendously frustrating as a fan to hear you continuously revise history and then to make excuses for athletes that, on average, are the highest-paid athletes probably in North America. And it's really frustrating.
Is Isaiah Thomas a diva? Is Isaiah Thomas a diva? Is Isaiah Thomas a diva?
Ryan, Isaiah Thomas has been
players shouldn't have voices
so much because he's toxic in the locker room and as a teammate.
Whoa. No. You will not put that. No, you will not call Isaiah Thomas toxic. Isaiah Thomas is bounced around because he's injured. Because if the guy could still play basketball at a high level, he would have stayed in Cleveland. He definitely would have stayed in Los Angeles, but he's injured. So don't assassinate his character, my man, because the guy believes in himself. Not fair. Not cool. Not cool, brother.
Speak for themselves,
Not cool.
Ryan.
Do better than that.
His actions speak for themselves. And it's
yes,
worse
he's
with
injured.
The others.
And you know what? In
it's
sports,
worse with Irving and Leonard.
When you're injured, hey, in sports, if you're injured and you can't play, you have no value anymore to the organization. And he risked himself for the organization, and that's how he was rewarded. He ended up being a number and a statistic in Danny Ainge's his pocketbook, and he was moved on as a number.
So what do you want? What do you want Danny Ainge to do? Extend the guy that he doesn't think is worthy of that money, or not trade him for Kyrie Irving? Like what?
Well,
that's the call, Scott. What is the goal? I don't understand what you want. What you want
Scott.
These organizations to do?
Dave, my good man. If Danny Ainge can do what he had to do in his business, why isn't it business when a player does it? I beg of you, why is it not business? Why is there this double standard? And I get you're uneducated, but our job is here to the fans today to listen, is to educate, to sympathize, to have empathy for what the players do. Because guess what, buddy? You're a lot closer to a darn player who makes $20 million a year than the owner who makes $20 billion a year. So facts are facts. You're looking at the wrong thing.
So what is the goal that you're looking to do? Blame the owners for owning teams?
No, I want you to acknowledge what I said, right or wrong. Right or wrong.
Which is what?
Are you a lot closer to a player or an owner as an everyday person?
I'm a lot closer to a player. But Ryan, you missed the point every time we discuss this. I don't understand what it's like to have, in my industry, the average person making $6 million.
Fair. I get that, and I get that that's pushed in your face. I get that. I understand it. I understand it. I get that. No, I hear you, but what I'm saying is that's what you see. And I do understand you don't see owners. Nobody comes out and says the Boston Celtics owners grossed $7.5 billion last year. You don't hear that. The owners complain about their losses all the time. They don't complain about what they make or how they just write that off or their other businesses. You don't hear that. You don't see those numbers. But guess what? Anytime a former player, I get a raise, I get a signing, there's a trade, there's a cap move, you know to the penny what I've made. You know to the penny what a player. You know to the penny what LeBron James just got paid. You know to the penny what Isaiah Thomas just got paid. I get it, but you got to have some sense, man. Dave, your job is to educate, and I feel like you're regressing our fans, and we have some of the brightest, most intelligent, smartest fans in the world, and that you are trying to brainwash them today.
I'm not trying to brainwash them. I just think it's very hard for the average person to be sympathetic to the NBA player who we know is making so much money. I think it's hard to be sympathetic to the owner as well. Listen, here's what I want to do. Todd Gurley, very upset with the NFL right now. I don't want to dive into that, and we'll do that in just a minute. But hey, sports fans, the sun is shining, the temps are rising. Summer is officially here. Grab your friends, blast some tunes, and ignite those coals, because weather like this waits for nobody. Kingsford Charcoal, start something. You, my friend, are going to have an issue with Todd Gurley because he thinks the NBA players have it pretty darn good. Rothenberg, Hollins, in for Stephen A., ESPN Radio, and the ESPN app.
Ow. Yep, you guessed it. I'm a speed bump, so I've got one job. I slow you down. So imagine how I feel about Geico, who does way more. Like, not only could they save you money on car insurance, but they've been around for over 75 years, giving people fast and friendly claim service. Ow. Plus, they got a nifty mobile app that gives you 24/7 access. Ow. Just doing my job, buddy.
Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it!
It is the Stephen A. Smith Show. Dave Rothenberg and Ryan Hollins, a dynamic duo on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. Ryan, when's the last time you were at the game or concert?
Last time I was at a game or concert. Does playing change anything? Do I count as playing, or do I have to be going?
Would you need to go to vividseats.com/ESPN today for your exclusive discount offer if you were playing. Probably not. So you got to go and sit in the crowd. Vivid Seats, the official ticket partner of ESPN.
Yeah, no, it's been a while. It's been a while, my brother. It's been a while.
Vivid Seats.
I am looking for some tickets. Looking for some tickets, though. I think I'm gonna scalp something to get into the ESPYs, man. Ryan Hollins, I got to find my way into these awards, man.
You're Ryan Hollins, for God's sakes. If you just tell them you want to go, you'll be sitting up there with like Kobe. It'll be Ryan Hollins, Peyton Manning, Kobe Bryant, Shaquille O'Neal. I think that would be like the force.
Something tells me it's not going down just like that. If I scalp some, that's the one perk of being 7 feet. When I show up, I look like I'm supposed to be there. You know, there's other guys. I talked with Beno Udo, my guy, and he's like, yeah, nobody notices me. You know, I played 12 seasons in the NBA. Nobody noticed. I said it's the gift and the curse, because I can't walk around anywhere with someone just go, you gotta be somebody. You gotta be somebody. No, I'm nobody. I'm a regular Joe. But you know, at places like that, I look like I belong. That's the one time it helps.
We'll get you tickets to the ESPYs. 888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776. Discussing super teams. Do you like them or you're opposed to them? Ryan loves it. I don't like it. Matt in Queens, you're on ESPN Radio.
How's it going, guys? Good afternoon.
Good. Go ahead.
Hey, what's going on, brother?
What's going on? I called because I wanted to argue with Ryan Hollins and back up my man, Rothenberg. Before anything, to let you know, yes, I am a New York Giants fan and a New York Knicks fan, to let you know off the bat about that.
See, Matt is a good man, Ryan. Continue.
So, about that, when you're telling me, like, you know, Jordan was going to beat the Utah Jazz every time, yeah, you knew that, but he didn't do it with, like, the starting five of the All-Stars of the West. Now, I don't have anything against with all of the Golden State players, but you can't tell me, Ryan, that you thought it was going to be fun to watch, you know, Jordan, Bird, and, you know, and Magic Johnson get together on the same team, would you?
Well, these are different eras. Obviously, things have changed, and as we progress forward, things always get bigger and better. We get to see some tandems that we want. You can't tell me that you wouldn't have wanted to see Magic and Jordan potential. I get it as a Knickerbocker, those guys. You got your integrity, and we looked at it. Michael Jordan wasn't a Knick; he was the rival, and you know Reggie Miller was the enemy. I get it. We grew up with those assumptions, but now, a different day and age. That's why you love all-star teams. You love these concepts, these ideas of never was or not to have a chance. They actually have a chance at happening. You get to see your favorite players together while they're in their primes of their careers. So why can't we enjoy that? I'll ask that back to you. Why can't we just enjoy what we're seeing?
You could enjoy it as much as you want, but I think for the most, especially like as basketball purists, I guess, to the game is definitely a lot that's changed. But I think it's more as a basketball purist, like a guy like myself. I was more fun to watch like Allen Iverson bring this team to the finals and get you one win, even though they were a huge underdog in the finals. It was more fun to watch. Like, it's like when you mentioned earlier, Rothenberg, it would be a lot more fun to see like Clay, Curry, and Draymond against what, you know, when Durant was on the Thunder. It would be a lot more fun to see these actual superstars take this team to, you know, to make everybody better around them, as opposed to all these great guys like, all right, well, I guess we got to get together now. I guess we all got to form together because there's no way that we could just compete, because now it's not so much the NBA, it's just Golden State versus everybody else, you know?
May I ask, you wouldn't be excited to see Allen Iverson join up with Jason Kidd in that process? You would be happy because AI would have some help. He may have had a ring behind his name, and I mean, Jason Kidd's a random name, but you can't tell me we wouldn't have been excited to see another piece fit with AI and complement what he does.
Of course, to have another piece with AI, I would agree with that. I mean, like, AI brought Eric Snow to the finals, and who's Eric Snow and everything. But of course, to see another piece, but Golden State got 5. But they got 5. Those guys are each arguably one of the best players at their position. Like, one of my favorite teams was Detroit Pistons when they had Chauncey Billups, Rip Hamilton, you know, Tayshaun.
Yeah, Ben Wallace, absolutely. That was a terrific basketball team. We got to run it. Thanks for the phone call. Unfortunately, we got to go. 888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776. Now, listen, I appreciate the greatness of Golden State. For me, it would be a more enticing scenario if Kevin Durant was still on Oklahoma City or signed to play with a different team. You had 2 or 3 really elite teams in the Western Conference. So we'll continue the conversation.
I got a question for you.
We don't have time for questions.
I got a real question
It's that
for you.
question time.
Okay.
Save your question. We'll get to it in about 6 minutes. 888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776. Golf admits the NFL is king. We'll explain that next. ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
Allie's mom knew she had a strong kick even back in the womb. And from then on, Allie was always kicking a ball and saying she was going to play pro soccer. And one day, while she was kicking a ball against a wall, her skills drew even more attention. Her boss said, "Could you please stop that and get me those quarterly numbers I asked for?" Turns out Allie just wasn't that good a talker. But she was a good accountant. That's why she switched to Geico. She knew they could save her a bunch of money on car insurance. And she sure wasn't ever going to make that pro soccer money. No, sir.
Today's podcast is brought to you by T-Mobile. Join the thousands tweeting and posting their appreciation for our military and veterans by using hashtag #HatsOffForHeroes. When you share your photo or video, T-Mobile will donate $1 to support vets with Team Rubicon.
This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A.
And it is ESPN Radio, and it is the Stephen A. Smith Show. Dave Rothenberg and Ryan Hollins filling in all week. Only one more hour, Ryan. I know that makes you very... Would you just yip at me?
I yip at everybody. It's not at you. It's like a fun thing. It's like I'm a hype man. I'm excited. I love life, man. I love life.
Then you must love the fact that we are 6 hours in. Anderson Isner. We're about to be 18 all in the fifth set. 18 all! And we are now.
So if this is baseball, this is the 14th, 15th inning,
No,
right?
if this is baseball, we're in the 21st inning
overtime?
Right now. This is a 6-hour tennis match.
So we're talking 5 overtimes in basketball.
More. 7.
Fair?
We're in the 7th
More?
overtime.
7 overtimes.
I mean, we're almost in unprecedented territory here. And not only are we in the 7th overtime, this is a playoff game. This is the Wimbledon semifinals, Ryan.
So you're telling me they just keep splitting. Nobody can get up. Nobody can get
They can't break serve. They haven't broken serve in like 40 games now. Until this match, Ryan, John Isner's serve wasn't broken in the entire tournament until today. And that's going to have to change at some point. Someone will be broken at some point today. All right, sports fans, the sun is shining, the temps are rising, summer's officially here. Grab your friends, blast some tunes, ignite those coals, because weather like this waits for no one. Kingsford Charcoal, start something. A man that I'm familiar with, and you tell me, not everyone knows who Earl Boykins is, but they do. Earl Boykins joined us here on ESPN Radio. Former NBA player Earl Boykins obviously was so intrigued by our conversation that he took it upon himself to call in. Good afternoon, Earl. How are you?
I'm doing good. How you guys doing?
We are great. So what of our gripping discussion prompted you to pick up the phone and call?
I just think if NFL players really want guaranteed contracts, there's only one thing they can do. They have to be willing to sacrifice a year of salary. And that's the problem. The guys say they want guaranteed contracts, but they won't lock out. That's the only thing that will move the owners is money. And if you aren't willing to lock out, you can say whatever you want to say about NBA players, Major League Baseball players. It won't change until you're willing to make the ultimate sacrifice.
But first of all, you have guys that aren't willing to do it. The guys that make $20+ million a year aren't going to lock out. We saw this happen in 1987 where there was a lockout, and eventually a ton of guys crossed the picket line, and owners just aren't willing to guarantee money into a sport where there's so much incredible injury and risk for injury.
I agree. And I think players just wasting their time talking about guaranteed contracts because the owners aren't listening.
Earl, my man, I don't think people know this. There was a list that came out earlier, and they said the highest IQ players, and they had Magic Johnson up there, they had LeBron, and they just threw it together. But hands down, you are the smartest player who has ever played in the NBA, and I have proof to show it. If you spend a day with Earl Boykins, you will find out by
don't know
far
about
he's the
that,
most
Ryan.
interesting man on the. No, Earl, you're being modest right now. There's nothing that Earl Boykins doesn't know. He can stump the Schwab any day. Okay, my man. We have a gripping discussion, and Dave is trying to hide from this. I think because he's scared.
Where am I hiding from? How am I the bad guy?
Yeah, you are hiding.
I mean, you don't like me. I mean, Earl comes on. He's the greatest. He's the smartest. He's the most intriguing. He's the most interesting. Dave's awful. Why do I get run under?
Because you say that you have no empathy for NBA players who get snubbed on a contract. You don't feel anything for his fellow little man, Isaiah Thomas, okay?
You just called him a little man. I mean, you think I'm disrespectful? You just called your friend and our guest a little man.
Well, what should I call Earl then? He's not offended. I'm not offended.
Just call me Earl. That's good enough.
Yeah, just call him Earl. You don't have to refer to him as a little man.
Well, they have a bond. I don't know how else to articulate that they're both short players in the NBA, but they're smart. I don't know.
Earl, don't you agree that it's hard, and maybe you can't because you were so close to it, that it's hard for the normal person out there in this country to feel great empathy for Isaiah Thomas, who only is making $2 million this coming season?
I think it's hard for the normal person out there to feel empathy towards any other worker. You can tell by the stances that fans take. Most fans take the sides of owners over players in any sport. I don't understand that aspect of it. I don't get that thinking of it. But fans, most times, more often than not, they're going to take the owner's side over the players. And that's in everything.
And I think it's partly because
Dave doesn't feel anything for NBA players, and I want to know why Dave is hiding. Say how you feel, Dave, because you are saying all this mess. Earl hears you. He gets on it. Now you're hiding from him.
You called my friend Earl Boykins a little man, so you don't start with that I'm being disrespectful. No, I told you how I feel. Earl, it has nothing to do with the owners. I think the owner – see, for me, Earl, and I think most people out there, the owners are like faceless people up in the rafters, and all the accolades – that is true. And all the accolades, all the good, all the bad, everything comes down on the players. Nobody cares about Mickey Aronson. Nobody cares about James Dolan or the Buss family. You care about LeBron. You care about Kristaps Porzingis. You care about Dwayne Wade. So it's not that I think that, it's unfair how
I don't know if they don't care about Dolan in New York. They're always complaining about Dolan.
That may be one that you're right. But my point is this, that unless an owner is egregiously ruining a franchise or making a franchise look silly or incredible, they're behind the scenes. The players, for good or for bad, are the ones that all the fans are going to look at and focus on and comment and feel positive or negative towards. Can't you agree with that?
Yes. That's a true statement.
Why don't you tell your friend that?
Ryan has his own opinion on
you're running
everything.
from it. No. I don't. Earl, he's running from it. He don't feel nothing. I'm talking about Dave personally. He has a real problem, and I'm just glad you called in. And then Isaiah Thomas risked it all, but somehow Kawhi is a bad guy, and we have some of the most intelligent fans in the world. Fans are smart, Earl, and Dave doesn't think that fans are smart. That's what I'm trying to figure out. God. And apparently NBA players aren't smart either, because Kawhi Leonard should be playing and risking his body. No, he's smarter than that. He saw what happened to Earl's fellow little man, Isaiah Thomas.
There he is again.
That is true. That is definitely a true statement. I think Kawhi, the biggest thing with the Spurs was he just lost trust. And when you lose trust in a relationship, it's very hard to repair it.
You're right. And I don't know that it's going to be reparable, because it looks like Toronto is the leader for the services of one Kawhi Leonard right now. Listen, Earl, we really appreciate a couple minutes and you shedding some light. I apologize that Ryan referred to you so cruelly as a little man. I look at you as one of the biggest people I've ever talked to. So thank you for a couple minutes, and I hope you have a great weekend.
Well, thank you for looking at me as a giant. I appreciate that. It's not every day I hear that.
I mean, over the phone, and thanks so much. Over the phone, I look at you as a 6'9", 275-pound giant, and I apologize. Ryan, I feel, just because you're 7 feet tall doesn't mean everyone can look eye to eye with you.
No, I literally look. I look up to Earl. I might be tall, but I look up to Earl, man. This guy mentored me as a young guy in the NBA, man. So don't take our relationship out of character, man. Earl, is this a false statement?
I used to take care of Ryan when he was a young guy. I did. I looked after Ryan.
See,
great dude.
Thank you. God,
we appreciate it, Earl, and thank you for the time.
Thanks,
today.
Earl.
All right, good stuff.
All right, guys, have a good one.
You too, Ryan.
Appreciate it.
You can admit that the NBA player has a better financial reward than the NFL player, correct?
Very true.
Okay.
True statement. Continue on.
No, that's what I wanted to say. Because because you said you were seemed frustrated with what Todd Gurley said when you ran into him at the gym. But I think he's right.
My frustration is the why. And any time in any profession, and I don't want to take it to sports, whenever you can't look at your failures or look at yourself in the mirror and question yourself on why you're not achieving a certain goal that you want, and you turn over and you look at the next man, your progress is dead. And it ends. So instead of looking at yourself, you look at an NBA player, that's weak. That's a loser's type mentality. Anytime in sports and in my career that I caught myself complaining, and I'm human. This is human to do this. Complaining about the coach, complaining about another player, complaining about my circumstances, instead of looking and saying, Ryan Hollins, what can you do to be the best Ryan Hollins that you can be? I never succeeded. I always fell flat on my face. And when I looked myself in the mirror, that's the only time that I was able to grow, not just as a former NBA athlete, but as a man. So I look at Todd Gurley and I say, dude, you're one of the most successful players in the NFL. How do you have this loser's mentality and even just the mentality to look at another player? You're looking at the wrong person, my man. NFL players, y'all gonna go nowhere until you look each other square in the face about your contract situation and the way that you guys stand. And I tell you, furthest from the right thing, you shouldn't be looking at NBA players. Maybe look at NBA owners, okay? Maybe look at our commissioner, Adam Silver, who's taking care of business and taking care of players. Why? Because we speak up and now we communicate. We have a healthy relationship within our owners and within our league. Why can't you have the same? You're looking at the
Too
wrong
many guys.
person. Dave, am I wrong?
Every NBA team has, 15 guys? Every NFL team has 70 or 75 players. It's nearly impossible to get these guys on the same page, Ryan.
It's not impossible. You want to know why?
You know what? How are you going to get guys that have $75 million guaranteed, making $20+ million a year? How are you going to get them to agree to lock out and to not play?
It's not a job of numbers. It's a job of who. And it goes to the top. When you think back to the first NBA lockouts, who was integral in that? Michael Jordan, Patrick Ewing, all the top names, those guys stepped forth and were fighting. You saw them. When we locked out the second time, you had guys like Chris Paul, LeBron James speaks up. All of our top, Dwayne Wade, Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, our guys, the top guys in our league spoke up. The irreplaceables, I'm going to say irreplaceable because we'll say in the NFL are the quarterbacks, right? Those are the guys, if you don't see Tom Brady on Sunday, you don't want to watch. Okay, it's not going to be too much of a game. If you don't see Drew Brees in New Orleans, it's not too much of a game. We can plug in who we want to plug in, but it ain't the same without the quarterbacks. If you don't have those quarterbacks speaking for them, if you don't have those quarterbacks willing to miss out on $20 or $25 or $30 million a year, you're not going to make any growth.
I think you're right. But let me ask you this, and let me ask the people out there this. If you're making $25 million a year, are you going to say, yeah, let me risk a year's salary to do what's right for the little guy? Or are you going to say, you know what, I want my $25 million and I'm not making waves?
Michael Jordan did it. Michael Jordan did it. LeBron James did it. Kevin Garnett did it. So those guys made sacrifices not just for us. And listen, I was a lead, I don't want to say a lead, but a team member in the lockouts. And I was in every single meeting, every single prep work, all a part of it. And the message that we also sent, we're not just doing this for ourselves, we're doing this for NBA members and players to come. And it starts at the top. And we also understood that Derek Fisher, as the head of the players organization, was never, as good of a job or as bad of a job as Derek Fisher did, he was never going to make the same wave that Chris Paul made for us. He was never going to make the same wave as a guy who's going to be a future Hall of Famer and is respected around the league is going to make. That we need the guys like LeBron James to speak up and do what they can for the league. We needed that, and we made those moves. Why blame us, Todd Gurley? You looking at the wrong thing, man. You got to understand, I was in it every single meeting. Hey, guys, we need to stand up for ourselves. We need this, to do this, to do this. And that's what it always boiled down to, was the top of the league. Because if those guys aren't willing to sit out and sacrifice for the next batch of NFL quarterbacks or players or running backs or guys who are hurt and sacrifice their body and legacy for the sport that we love and not just basketball called football, y'all not going to get paid. Those owners are going to keep treating you like trash. Why would you change? This is just a law of business 101.
Yeah, but I don't think that there's too many players that make not a ton of money. There's too many 500, and I know it sounds like a lot, and it is a lot. Too many players that make $500,000 that aren't willing to give up a year or 18 months or 2 years. They need the money. And you know how long the average player plays in the NFL? Like 3 years. So they need it. I don't think you realize how much of an advantage the NBA player has over the NFL player right now.
Just common sense. The advantage of you know what? Dave, we knew going into the lockout 3 years out. Our PA alerted us and said, hey, 3 years out, save your money, guys. Prepare yourselves to lockout for a year, if not two, however long this thing goes. Save your money. Put your money aside. Take out loans. Go and do tours. We did tours in China. We did all kind of different things to supplement our cash flow. Prepare yourself for the lockout. You don't just go into the lockout and say, man, I'm not going to feed my family for the day. That would be silly. This is something you prepare for ahead of time.
A lot easier to get 15 guys on the same page than 75 per team like the NFL has. Get triple action protection for optimal engine performance. Never going to make with Shell V-Power Nitro plus premium gasoline. Let's go to some calls. 888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776. By the way, we roll on at Wimbledon. 6 hours, 10 minutes, 21-20. Isner up in the fifth set right now. Let's go to Anthony in New York. Anthony, you're on ESPN Radio.
Hey, what's up, guys? I just want to say, Dave, first of all, great show in the morning. I listen to you guys every morning.
Thank you.
I couldn't agree with Dave anymore, Mr. Hollins. I think what you're saying is totally ridiculous as far as Kawhi. I go, first of all, you have two different things, job, and then you have players, right? You have jobs, everybody, $11 an hour, $20 an hour, $75,000 a year, $3 million a year, no difference. We all have bosses. We have to do what we have to do, and Kawhi had to do what he had to do, right? But Kawhi gets $19 million guaranteed. So is he giving any of that back to the Spurs?
Kawhi Leonard is poised to make, forgive me if I'm wrong, $150, $175 million if he's healthy. And the only thing that they're going to look at him and do, look at DeMarcus Cousins, if he can't play, is say, you know what, Kawhi, you're not healthy. We're not paying you this money. These are part of negotiations. Isaiah Thomas will trade you and you move you, okay? So if you in your lifetime, see what you got to understand about NBA players, you just look at the now and say next year he's going to make $20 million. Well, guess what? The money that we make has to last us for the rest of our lives. And I'm not saying to complain about that. It's a great problem to have. But instead of $20 million, you cut it in half one time. $20 million turns into $10 million. Then I plan on living till I'm at least 80 plus years old. It's got to last you that long. And now I'm the breadwinner just for my immediate family, for your entire family. Not to mention charitable things that you want to do and the changes you want to make in your community. So while you are quick to look at that large sum of money that guys make, it's not always what it's boiled up to be. And I get it. You're not in a position necessarily to complain, and I really appreciate your call, but I hear a little bit of New York bias in that voice. I heard some New York bias. I think I heard a fellow New Yorker, and if I was a New Yorker, I might like Dave too.
Of course he likes me.
But see, I'm not pro player or pro owner. I'm pro fan, pro team. So my thing is that, like, for instance, like, we've all gotten replaced from jobs. We've all lost jobs. We all go on sick leave. We all go on compensation. But we collect up to a certain point, and we don't have a $19 million guaranteed contract. So when someone that's rolling around at 42 years old, sure, there's some bias. I'm a Spurs fan. But when somebody's 42 like Manu and he's rolling around on the field, for a loose ball and he's 42, and Kawhi's sitting home collecting 19, can't even be bothered to be on the bench and hiding from the Spurs organization. That, to me, is she giving any of that back? Is she saying, hey, guys, I took a year off?
Of course he's Anthony. Of course he's not giving money back, and no athlete would ever give money back.
No, of course not. I understand that, but what I'm saying is everyone's Kawhi, poor little baby Kawhi. But when have the Spurs ever not extended people's careers? When did they become a terrible? When did they become the Clippers?
Anthony, at the end of the day, it's still a business, and you can't guarantee a handshake guarantee or whatever until you see it. And he's got a right to act how he wants. I don't want to say to act how he wants to act, but he's got a right. You don't see what happens from the other side. All you see is Kawhi sitting out. And I agree, it looks horrible. And as a Spurs fan, even as a Spurs fan or just a fan of the game, the Spurs have always been a well-run machine. You love the way their organization runs and does things. And this is the first time that I ever remember in my NBA tenure or as a player, anything getting ugly on San Antonio's side. But you got to understand, there's a different star now that San Antonio was not able to cater to, and this thing did get ugly. But for Kawhi Leonard, I get it. There's $19 million on the table, but if he goes and plays poorly, much like Isaiah, he's going to go from $19 million to 5 or 1. And I know maybe you don't care about that problem because these are rich people problems that I would love to have those problems. I never had in my career, but when you have $173 million that you could potentially get, you want to set yourself up as best as possible. And if you're the organization, you don't necessarily want that. You want to pay Kawhi on a hometown discount. You saw DeMarcus Cousins from the Pelicans get offered 2 for $40, and it was probably the deal was on the table and off within the next 24 hours. So if you're a player, you got to think for your family. And unfortunately, some of these tactics in business, they get run very poorly. And you see this thing getting ugly, not just for Kawhi, but for the San Antonio Spurs. This is a bad light on their organization. You don't want that energy around your locker room. So you want things to be handled maturely as possible. But unfortunately, man, it's a business, my dude. It's a real-life business that's being handled.
All right, let's go to Mike in Jersey. Mike, you're on ESPN Radio.
Appreciate the call, by the way. Great call.
Hey, guys, how you doing? I have to say I've never been more – Dave, I love you – more fired up listening to a radio station than I am now. Ryan, you act like you're holier than thou and know all the logistics, from baseball to football players. If you just do rational numbers – when you said Jordan and LeBron held out, they held out to pocket their pockets more. They wanted more of a salary. They saw that the NBA was making so much money, and they were only getting a certain. Well, they wanted a higher percentage, and guess what? A higher percentage of that goes to the better players in the league. It doesn't take care of the middle. And like Dave said, there's only 11 or 12 guys on each team. So when you take a big piece of money like that, you can afford to share more money around to each player. In the NFL, there's so many players on the team. Just use the simple math. If there's $50 million to share amongst 200 players in the NBA, and there's $50 million to share amongst 500 players in the NFL, guess what? Everybody doesn't make the same amount of money. And they all can't hold out like you're saying. Some guys only make $500,000 like Dave said, and they can't hold out. So if they only have 2 or 3 years, you think a guy like Dave said making $25 million is going to hold out for 1 or 2 years to have this guy make more money? No. Jordan wouldn't have done that. LeBron wouldn't have done that. LeBron wanted to make his $30 million and set up these 1-year contracts. That's why they held out for their self-interest.
Hey,
so you sitting here,
I love how you say it.
Better than the NFL players.
I love how you say that, but you forget that's how I fed my family. So the sacrifices that Jordan made and Chris Paul and those guys made and Garnett made when we had to lock out and the reason they spoke forward, that helped me. That helped my licensing check. That helped all the things that I was able to get and able to achieve. And guess what? When those salaries went up, my salary went up. Even though it may not be on the same scale of a LeBron James or a Chris Paul or a Kevin Durant or a Jordan and those guys, my salary went up. My league got better. The communication between the league and the players got better, which helped everybody. And guess what? I don't believe in camp, brother. If you plan and you put yourself in the right situation, you can hold out, or else you're going to keep getting screwed by the NFL. Straight up. So don't complain about it. Don't complain about it. Straight up. There ain't no gray area. Don't complain if you're not willing to do that because we had to make that sacrifices. And I get there's more guys. Don't complain. You either going to do it or not, or just keep taking it. I don't want to hear can't.
I don't think it's going to end anytime soon. I think the NFL is in for a long battle when they come to the next CBA agreement. When you're hiring, Ryan, you don't want to waste time sorting through dozens of irrelevant resumes. You want an efficient way to get a short list of qualified candidates. That's why you need Indeed.com. Post a job in minutes. Set up screener questions based on your job requirements. Then zero in on qualified candidates using an intuitive online dashboard. Discover why 3 million businesses use Indeed for hiring. Post a job today at Indeed.com/hire. Search for greatness. Search Indeed. Is the NFL doing the right thing in the way they are approaching Terrell Owens and his entry into the Hall of Fame? And Isner is up 22-21 in the fifth set. Live Wimbledon semis, ESPN TV. We continue with your calls. Stephen A. Smith Show. Dave Rothenberg, Ryan Hollins on ESPN Radio.
Hi, I'm Bryce Harper. Join me and the thousands tweeting and posting their appreciation for our military and veterans by using T-Mobile's hashtag #HatsOffForHeroes. When you share your photo or video with hashtag #HatsOffForHeroes, T-Mobile will donate $1 to support vets with Team Rubicon. So America, keep posting with hashtag #HatsOffForHeroes and T-Mobile will keep giving.
Major League Baseball trademarks used with permission. Official licensee of Major League Baseball Players Association.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Well, Dave Rothenberg and Ryan Hollins in for Stephen A. 23-22, John Isner on serve, no breaks of serve in the fifth set in the longest Wimbledon semifinal ever. It is now 6 hours and 25 minutes. And the Stephen A. Smith Show brought to you by Discover. Get your free credit scorecard today, even if you're not a Discover customer. It includes your FICO credit score, and checking your scorecard won't hurt your credit at all. Learn more at discover.com/credit scorecard. Limitations apply. Could this, would you be intrigued in this forever, Ryan, or is there a point where you say, let's just end the match?
No, there's no point. As an athlete, you push your body to a limit to where you never thought was possible, and now it's just mental. So you have to be intrigued as a fan of the game that these guys can just keep going as long as their best efforts are being put forth. That's why everybody loves it. It's the impossible being done. Nobody ever thought that you would see a tennis match or any game go this long, and these guys are pushing themselves to the limit. You have to love this because tennis isn't just a physical game. It's a skilled game. It's a mental game, and these guys have to be strong just to be able to go this far. And I get it. You don't want the game to start dragging out. You want these guys to still compete, but I guarantee you, Dave, if I'm not mistaken, nobody wants to go home.
Well, doesn't seem like it. Looks like we're on the verge of going 23 apiece. Now, baseball season hits the halfway mark, Ryan. Tune in tomorrow as the Braves host Paul Goldschmidt and the D-backs. It's such an exciting game. I'll give you on two. Boop! Presented by Barbasol Razors. Coverage begins 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time.
What's that?
On ESPN Radio, ESPNRadio.com, and ESPN app. What do you mean? If you're going to give me one, give me one of those things.
Do that again. Do that again, Dave. Do that again.
That's what you do, right? You just randomly make noises. There you go. 888-ESPN, 888-729-3776. We'll get to the calls in a second.
I'll explain.
We touched on it briefly yesterday. Any issue with the NFL Hall of Fame saying, listen, T.O., you're not showing up. My friend, you're not getting mentioned. Induction ceremony in August.
No issue at all. And T.O. knew when he took that stance, this was a very likely outcome. But it doesn't change him being inducted. This doesn't change him wanting to do his own celebration and going back to the place in which he started. T.O. went where it meant something to him. Now, granted, he's different. You can and everybody's taking it. You're disrespecting the guys who did it before. If it was that good for the other Hall of Famers, why not for you? No. He has his own choice, man. We live our own lives. Records are meant to be broken. Rules are meant to be changed, okay? T.O. has always done it his way, and how fitting that as a Hall of Famer, he's doing it his way.
He looks kind of ridiculous, though, doesn't he? I mean, what's the point of this? Because he didn't get voted in first time? He's making a statement?
Well, let me ask this. If you felt like T.O. was ridiculous before, you still are going to look at him as being ridiculous now. And if you look at T.O. as somebody you kind of rode for and say, hey, man, that's him, you're still riding for T.O. I don't think this changes any public perspective or opinion of anybody with him, right? I mean, do you think he's turning more heads?
What percentage of the people do you think are with T.O.? I think it's a minuscule number.
There's a lot of people with T.O. There's a lot of players with T.O. There's a lot of guys who understand the sacrifices that he made. I mean, he's one of my close friends. So obviously I'm going to be down for him. And I'm not going to hide the fact that he's turned a lot of people off by some of the choices and decisions that he's made. But T.O. is one of my good guys. And when we talk, we're eye to eye, man. I know how I respect his hard work. I know the hustle that he puts forth. I know when he actually says something, unlike some people, he puts his money where his mouth is. Now, there's a lot of guys, Dave, and I'm not going to mention Dave, that run their mouth and they don't back it up. You've actually seen what this guy has done on the field. So even though he may be loud and boisterous, and ultimately the guy ain't done nothing wrong. He ain't got no criminal rap sheet. He ain't disrespect nobody. He hasn't put hands on a woman. He hasn't done, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's so many negative stigmas around a number of guys. This guy T.O. is still a model citizen. So if the worst thing that Terrell Owens can do is run his mouth and be a bit of a diva, as you may say, hey, he can have at it, man.
I've heard from a lot of
man.
people that it was not a very good teammate, and that might be part of the reason he was bounced around from team to team to team over the course of his career too, right?
Well, I wouldn't argue that, man. He's his own cup of tea, man. He's going to say it how it is. He's going to demand the ball. He's going to want more, but the guy does the work. I get it. I've never actually been in the locker room with him. He's just a close friend of mine, and I know from being in locker rooms, you can turn guys off. If they don't understand you or your heart or where you come from, and you make statements, people are going to judge you on your statements without being known. I was a guy in the locker room that shut my mouth and did my job. Everybody's so surprised hearing me on radio and TV, like, whoa, Ryan Hollins can actually speak. The guy, you didn't say 2 words the entire season, and now you're yelling and screaming on the radio. Now I got a voice. Now it makes sense. But for a guy like T.O., he always chose to exercise his voice. And guess what T.O. knows? He knows the repercussions, dog. He knew exactly what would come out when he made this stance, and he was willing to take that chance for something that he believed in and something that he felt he was wrong for.
But what is he believing in? Like he was mistreated by the league by not getting in as a first ballot Hall of Famer? Is that the statement?
Facts. Is that not a fact? Is that not a fact? Because listen, on one end they say this has nothing to do with your character and how we feel about you, right? But we all know, Dave, and keep it but please don't contradict me on this. Please. He was a first ballot Hall of Famer, and this isn't a popularity contest. It's about his play on the field. And his numbers don't lie. So tell me how fair it is that he's not in because he wasn't in because of character. And then you had another writer come out and say, oh, T.O., I actually wouldn't have voted for you if I knew you were going to pull this. That's not the rules of the game, dog. It's about what you do as a football player on the field.
You're right, but he's so petulant that he can't look above the fray and say, you know what, I should have gotten in first time. I didn't. I got in second time, which is still an incredible honor, and now I'm not going to go.
He's a unique guy, bro. He's a unique guy, and he has a choice. And I guarantee you one thing, Dave. You want to know what I guarantee you? You want to know what I guarantee?
I'd love to know what guarantee that will be.
He won't be the last. You're going to see another Hall of Famer that's going to step forth and go to his hometown instead of going to Kenton. I guarantee he will not be the last. And I can think of a guy right now, and I'm not going to say he's the second. He may be the third, fourth, or fifth. If Odell Beckham makes it to the Hall ofAme, he ain't going to Kenton.
Oh, come on.
I really doubt that he goes.
You can't make a statement like that.
I really doubt that he goes.
He is the first one to even think about this. Now you can't put other guys' names into this conversation.
We're
ESPN
going to be
Radio
old
presented
men, and I'm going to be going
by Progressive Insurance. Commercial insurance through Progressive protects your business and your dream. Choose from over 30 coverage options at progressivecommercial.com. We're a point away from 24-24, and we are in fact there right now. Fifth set, 48 games in. Woo. And Nadal and Djokovic may not get on the court today. It's thrilling. Wimbledon semi, 6 hours and 30 minutes. And you can watch it on ESPN. We'll get to more of your calls. 888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776. Stephen A. Show. Rothenberg and Hollins in for him on ESPN Radio.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I'm as happy as a clam.
Disclaimer. Geico cannot guarantee you will be, quote, as happy as a clam, unquote. The Geico legal team cannot accurately verify clams even experience the complex human emotional state known as happiness. As an invertebrate mollusk living half submerged on the ocean floor, with no arms, legs, or wireless access, what's there to be happy about? A clam's all like, oh, I'm so happy I didn't get turned into New England clam chowder today. Pronounced regionally as chowder. Chowder. Oh, that's so fun to say. What were we talking about again?
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it! It is finally over. Dave Rothenberg, Ryan Hollins in for Stephen A. in one of the great matches. And not only was it a great match, Ryan, the magnitude, the semifinals of Wimbledon, Kevin Anderson in 5 sets beats American John Isner 26-24 in the 5th in a match that went 6.5+ hours. You talk about a test of wills and physical battle. What a sensational sporting event we just got to witness.
Can I be really selfish right now?
Oh, God.
Can I be really selfish?
Am I going to have to compare something to the NBA?
No. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. Great match. I wish this was in the final. Imagine a final being like this. I see everybody. It's a standing ovation. Everybody's excited. Women, children, husbands, men, nieces, nephews, uncles. They're cheering. They're going crazy. They're on their feet. They will not stop applauding what they just imagine if this was the finals. Woo! Woo!
Yeah, but let's not belittle the magnitude of this. And remember that Anderson beat Federer in the quarters also in 5 sets, and he beat him 13-11. So this is a guy that in his last 2 matches has been out on the court for well over 11 hours now. The question has to become, what does he have left Sunday morning for the finals when he goes up against an all-time great in Nadal or Djokovic? Surprise a friend or a loved one today with a bouquet from 1-800-Flowers.com. When you order a dozen multicolored roses for only $29.99, you'll get another dozen absolutely free. Go to 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN. So will you now watch the Wimbledon finals with Kevin Anderson against either Nadal or Djokovic Sunday morning, bright and early? Are you all in now?
I love how you're calling me out. I am in. But listen, the way what he just did, this guy has to win in the finals. He has to win. As an athlete, when you go through something like this, you gotta win. We had a storied comeback in college against Gonzaga, and we're like, we got it. We actually lost in the national championship, but we're like, we gotta keep going at least. He has to win it now. You gotta make good on what you just did, and you tell yourself deep down as a competitor, if I can make it through this, I can do anything. I can literally do anything.
He beats Federer, who's the greatest grass court player in the history of the game. He wins an epic 6.5+ hour match. If he loses to Nadal or Djokovic, then what? It's incomplete. It's what?
Disappointment.
Come on, really?
He's a fluke.
A fluke. The guy's had one of the greatest runs in Wimbledon history. So when your UCLA team lost, who'd you lose to? Florida?
We got blasted by Florida. We didn't lose. We got blasted.
When you lost that game to Florida, you looked at your season as a failure?
Yeah, it meant nothing. There's no banners from that 2006 season. Nobody. Now I made the NBA. That's a heck of a side note for a guy who wasn't even starting on his team during the year. Now that was a nice little makeup call. But as far as UCLA, they don't even know Ryan Hollins' name. They don't know it. That's why I have to speak of Ryan Hollins' name in third person when I'm on the show.
So you're telling me that only one team has success in a season, otherwise everyone else has failed. One player in a tournament has success, otherwise everyone else has failed.
When it comes to UCLA, when it comes to the reason that this guy trained, and I wouldn't call this a complete failure, but I'm saying he's going to be pretty upset because now he should feel like he can take on the world. He should feel like there's nobody in his way after what he just went through. And if I'm his coach, I'm grabbing him square in the face, and before he gets tired, before he gets in his feelings, I'm going to slap him upside the head, and I'm going to say, now we go win it. Now we go win it. Now we step into greatness. You are the greatest tennis athlete of all time. Now go prove it.
It's shocking to me that you're not involved in the coaching ranks at all.
No, well, let me correct that.
I mean, I would think big universities would be knocking down your door for you to smack people in the face and demand that they win championships and call them failures if they don't advance past the championship.
No, I don't want to coach, but I did the top 100 coaching camp. Shouts out to Tamar Slay for the MBPA. I mean, coaching is in my back pocket. That's in the back pocket. Right now, I'll get to run my mouth, and when teams win and lose, guess what? Ryan Hollins doesn't win and lose. I'm good.
Baseball season hits the halfway mark, Ryan Hollins. Tune in tomorrow night as the Indians host Aaron Judge and the Evil Empire Yankees, presented by Indeed. Coverage begins 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN Radio, ESPNRadio.com, and the ESPN app. If you had to grade our week of shows, would you put them at a solid C+ or higher than that?
I would give myself a C+, but I give you an A+, Dave, because honestly, I've ranted over every read that you've had, and I've tried my best to ruin you this entire week, and you've been a pro's pro, my man. It has been more than a pleasure working with you, man. Thank you, brother.
But before we call it a day, can you give me a couple of beeps and boops and stuff?
Yeah. It's a basketball thing, man. Sometimes we can't call for the ball or speak fast enough.
It's sensational. Ryan, I got to interrupt you one last time. Thank you so much, Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio.
Man. That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I should have done this years ago.
Disclaimer, traveling back in time is physically impossible unless you know how to build a functioning time machine. Then by all means, travel 25 years back in time, switch your car insurance to Geico. You could save a bunch of money. While you're there, please prevent your younger self from wearing that sleeveless tuxedo t-shirt, parachute pants, and glitter high tops to your senior prom. And at long last rectify this horrible crime against nature. Geico is absolved of all liability if you destroy the fabric of time and space.
Geico.